Queen Saria rose from the throne of iridescent veilstone, her crest frills flaring in measured authority as the chamber doors ground open. "The council is summoned," she intoned, voice echoing like polished obsidian across the vaulted throne room. "We convene to ratify the Treaty of Elandria with the Terran Coalition, affirming my hereditary mandate and the Empire's unyielding military sovereignty." The High Council filed in, their robes whispering against the polished floors, 20 Hayreen lords and ladies, each a nexus of factional webs spun from ancient bloodlines. High Senna led the van, her tail lashing once in subtle defiance, eyes gleaming with the fervor of one who scented weakness in tradition. Saria met their gazes evenly, her own frills held rigid, betraying no fracture in the imperial facade. The treaty scroll hovered before her on a gravitic pedestal, its holographic seals pulsing with coalition script and Hayrin runes intertwined. A fragile bridge forged in the fires of recent border skirmishes. She extended a clawed hand, activating the projection. "This pact secures our flanks against the Krell incursions, trading mineral rights for their anomalous drive tech. My authority as hereditary sovereign, descendant of the first brood, commands its passage. Military oversight remains imperial. No alien foothold encroaches." Murmurs rippled through the ranks, but none dared interrupt as Saria traced the ratification glyph. The chamber's central dais, elevated for signatories, ringed by ancestral effigies, hummed to life, its supports gleaming under ritual lights. Yet the treaty's final clause ignited the air like a plasma spark. An exchanged personal protector. One human guardian bound to her side for the treaty's duration. Saria's throat tightened, a private coil of reluctance twisting beneath her poise. To tether her divine right rule to a soft-skinned outsider, a species barely emerged from their system's cradle? Tradition recoiled at the indignity, the factions would feast on it. But the coalition's envoys had insisted. Symbolic parity, they called it, eyes wide with that peculiar human earnestness. Refusal risked unraveling the ink still drying on resource clauses. "Protocol demands implementation," she declared, frills snapping shut with finality. "Summon the designated human. Let the exchange commence here under council witness." Guards stiffened at the flanks, antennae twitching toward the antechamber. Moments later, they escorted him in. Commander Jonah Vance, striding with the unhurried gait of one accustomed to uneven terrain. Tall for a human, broad-shouldered in a simple black tunic edged with coalition insignia. His face bore the faint scars of field service. "Peacekeeper," the dossier whispered in her implant feed. Officially, ceremonial bodyguard. Unofficially, structural engineer from frontier outposts, versed in bridging worlds both literal and figurative. He halted at the dais's base, inclining his head in a gesture neither bow nor salute, simply acknowledgement. "Your Radiance," he said, voice steady, carrying through the translator orb without inflection loss. No awe, no fawning, just competence wrapped in humility. Saria's gaze assessed him, no crest to flare, no tail to betray nerves, yet his eyes scanned the room with quiet precision. Routine, she dismissed inwardly. Terrans bred for endurance, their files brimmed with such banal feats. Before she could speak, Jonah's brow furrowed. He stepped forward unbidden, boots scuffing the dais's edge. "Pardon, ma'am. Radiance, that support strut there." He pointed to a veilstone pillar anchoring the platform, its base subtly warped under recent chamber expansions. "Microfracture from thermal cycling. It'll hold for a static ceremony, but with guests shifting weight, risk of cascade failure." The council's murmurs sharpened to hisses. High Senna's frills quivered. "Insolence. The dais is sanctified, engineered by broodmasters." Jonah ignored her, already kneeling to inspect. "Not questioning your builders. Just physics." Veilstone expands unevenly under plasma lamps. From his belt pouch he produced a compact scanner, Terran make, humming faintly, and swept it over the join. "See? Stress lines propagating. I can shore it in 2 minutes. No tools needed beyond this brace kit."
Saria's pulse quickened, antennae prickling.
Routine competence, yes. But how had he spotted it amid protocol splendor? Hayrin eyes prioritized symmetry, ritual alignment, fractures hid in the grain. She nodded curtly. "Council, note the prudence." He worked with fluid efficiency, multitasking. One hand wedging a carbon fiber shim into the fissure, the other calibrating the scanner to bond it molecularly. Sweat beaded his brow. No complaint, no pause, as he juggled load calculations on a wrist hologram, cross-referencing Hayrin alloy specs pulled from public archives. "Adapted your Veilstone modulus from orbital fab data," he murmured, almost to himself. "Your engineers favor rigidity, humans lean flexible, hybrid holds best." The shim locked with a soft chime, the dais humming stable once more. Jonah rose, dusting his hands.
Solid now. Won't buckle under a full honor guard.
High Senna surged forward, pale coiling aggressively. This is outrage. A human meddles in sacred architecture? The treaty's protector clause is a farce, a Terran ploy to infiltrate our core. Demand its excision. Oversight by Imperial Sentinels only, or we withhold ratification. Her faction echoed her, 5 lords, frills ablaze, invoking succession precedents. Hereditary mandate falters if aliens tread our throne unbound. One snarled. The brood laws prohibit off-world taint. Saria's frills flared wide, commanding silence. The chamber stilled, her presence a gravitational anchor. Personal reluctance gnawed deeper now. Senna's protest fed the very fractures Jonah had mended, yet dismissing him summarily would embolden them, fracture the treaty before ink set. Politics demanded balance, strength veiled as concession. She paused, letting tension coil like a predator's strike. The clause stands as negotiated. My military mandate affirms it. Her implant pulsed. She keyed a discreet command to Security Prime. Initiate full background review of Commander Vance. Service records, psych evals, allegiance scans. Cross-reference with coalition feeds. Turning to Jonah, she measured him anew. You will attend court provisionally, under surveillance. Your role: observe, protect, as protocol dictates. Deviate and the Empire's justice is swift. He nodded, expression unchanging, humble, unassuming. Understood, Radiance. I'll keep to shadows, unless needed.
Senna hissed, but Soraya silenced her with a glance.
Ratification proceeds. Signatories, affirm. One by one they approached the dais, now unyieldingly firm, impressing their glyphs. The hologram flared gold, seals locking, cheers rose muted, laced with undercurrents. Saria felt the weight settle. Treaty secured, but the human bound to her side like a living clause. Senna's faction retreated plotting, eyes on Jonah as if he were the flaw they'd exploit. As the council dispersed, Saria lingered on the throne, frills relaxing fractionally. Jonah stood sentinel at the chamber's edge, posture relaxed yet alert, scanning exits with that same quiet pattern sense. Routine, she told herself. Yet a whisper of intrigue stirred. Had his intervention been mere luck, or the first thread of something essential? High Senna paused at the doors, her voice a silken barb carried back. Watch him closely, Sovereign. Even mended stone can harbor cracks. Saria did not reply, but her gaze lingered on the human. Conditions set, alliance forged, yet the throne room felt irrevocably altered. A human shadow etched into its heart. In the antechamber shadows, Jonah Vance allowed himself a private exhale, flexing fingers still warm from the brace. Her grandeur was a marvel, efficient, elegant, but blind spots lingered in every empire. He'd say nothing of it. His job was protection, not preaching. Still, as guards eyed him warily, he caught the Queen's antennae twitch toward him once more. Partnership, perhaps. Earned in time. The real work began now. Queen Saria extended her primary crest in rigid formality, the iridescent scales catching the vaulted hall's lumen globes as she accepted the treaty seal from the human commander. Jonah Vance mirrored her precision, his broad-shouldered frame clad in the stark Terran uniform that clashed so jarringly with Hayrin silks, placing the counterseal into her grasp without flourish or glance. The assembled council murmured approval, their pheromonal approval scent thickening the air like spiced vapor, yet Saria sensed the undercurrent of reservation, deliberate distance preserved, as protocol demanded. Noble Varek rose from his dais then, his secondary limbs folding with exaggerated deference, voice threading through the hall like a barbed filament. Exalted Sovereign, the ancient edicts of the Vale Concord bar interspecies unions. This arrangement risks the Empire's purity. I petition the Council, replace the human consort with a Hayrin of proven blood, lest we invite fracture. Whispers erupted, crests flickering in agitation. Varek's allies nodded, their eyes sliding toward Jonah with unveiled disdain. Saria held her gaze steady on the seal, its weight a reminder of the treaty's fragile leverage against border incursions. She would not yield ground here, not with the fleet's resupply hinging on Terran alloys. The procession shifted to the reception antechamber, crystal flutes chiming as attendants circulated with nectar vials. Saria navigated the throng with measured grace, Jonah a silent shadow 2 paces behind, close enough for the role's theater, distant enough to deny intimacy. She noted his posture, relaxed yet scanning, human eyes flicking across robes and limbs without the telltale twitch of unease that plagued off-world envoys. Varek lingered nearby, conversing with clustermates, his mandibles clicking in low challenge. Then it came, a junior attendant, robed in cerulean for the rite, approached with chalice extended, secondary claws concealed beneath the fold. Saria's instars prickled. The gesture was rote, yet his pheromones soured faintly off-key. Before she could signal her guards, Jonah moved. His hand intercepted the attendant's wrist mid-extension, palm slapping flat against the forearm in a pivot that wrenched the concealed blade free. The ornate dagger, ceremonial edge honed to lethality, clattered to the mosaic floor, its hilt engraved with Varek's houseglyph. Jonah's grip tightened just enough to pin the arm without fracture, his voice calm, almost conversational. "Easy now. That's not for toasting." Gasps rippled outward, crests flaring crimson in shock. The attendant froze, mandibles gaping as Jonah swept the blade aside with his boot, eyes never leaving the male's face. Saria's primary guard surged forward, but she raised a claw. "Hold." "Fortunate timing, Commander," she said, voice level though her pulse thrums accelerated beneath the propriety. The hall hushed, all eyes on the fallen weapon, its gleam accusing under the lights. "Secure the perimeter, Saria," commanded her captain, her tone brooking no delay. "Full inquiry into this blade's provenance. Trace every claw that touched it. Double the ward sentries at all ingress points. No exemptions for house privilege." The captain bowed low, pheromones spiking with urgency, and dispatched squads with crisp efficiency. Saria felt the shift in the air, courtiers exchanging glances, their dismissal of the human fracturing like thin ice. Jonah released the attendant to her guards, stepping back with hands open, as if disarming assassins were mere courtesy. She met his gaze briefly, steady, unassuming, and nodded once. Protocol held, but reassessment dawned. The palace's vaunted security had missed what his eyes caught. Varek pressed forward through the dispersing crowd, his crest fully extended in outrage, flanked by a phalanx of supporters. "This outrage desecrates our rights. The human's barbaric intervention profanes sacred forms, grasping with unclean limbs, as if Hayrin frailty demands off-world meddling." His voice amplified via implant broadcasting to the public feeds that now flickered alive across the Empire's nets. "The treaty invites such chaos, eroding our sovereignty. Demand his recall, sovereign, before cultural scars fester." Murmurs swelled into a chorus, crests pulsing in syncopated dissent. Hollows projected the blade's image, glyph magnified for all to decry. Saria's advisors clustered at her flank, whispering contingencies. The treaty's legitimacy teetered, public sentiment a blade sharper than the one discarded. Varek's gambit was masterful. Frame salvation as sacrilege, poison the alliance at its root. She straightened, drawing on the imperial reserve that had weathered purges before. "Noble Varek, your vigilance honors the veil, yet the glyph upon that steel speaks louder than accusation." The inquiry proceeds. Commander Vance acted within mandate. The treaty endures. Yet doubt gnawed. Varek's petition gained traction, feeds alight with calls for purity. Jonah stood silent beside her, expression neutral, but she caught the subtle scan of exits, the way his stance adjusted to shield her blind flank without overclaim. Hayrin guards bristled at the implication, their precision formations rigid, but none matched his seamless vigilance. In the strategy vault later, as lumen globes dimmed to amber for counsel, Saria weighed the breach. Perimeter logs showed no anomalies. Yet the blade slipped through. Varek's denouncement echoed in every chamber, eroding support among the mid-houses. She needed proof of fidelity, not just fortune.
"Commander," she said, turning to where Jonah waited, summoned at her decree. He inclined his head, patient as stone.
"The palace outer controls, grids, sensors, kinetic wards. You will assume temporary oversight. Demonstrate their fortification to my satisfaction." His brows lifted fractionally. Surprise quickly masked, but he nodded without protest. "Understood, Your Majesty. Access protocols first?" She gestured to the console, its interfaces blooming in holographic filigree. Kyrene tech was labyrinthine, layered for imperial minds. Off-worlders faltered for cycles. Jonah leaned in, fingers dancing across the nodes with unnatural fluency, cross-referencing schematics he'd glimpsed in transit briefings. Pattern leaped to him, redundant loops in the sensor webs, exploitable by insider sync. "Here," he murmured, isolating a thread. "Blind spot at the East Eyrie. Patch it with auxiliary drone relays, reroute power from the secondary vents." Her tech adept blinked, crest twitching. "That junction resists recalibration. It demands full right recursion." Jonah shrugged lightly. "Or you improvise a bridge protocol, like this." He spliced a virtual shunt, the grid pulsing green in confirmation. The adept's mandibles parted, amazement unfeigned. Saria watched, propriety veiling her intrigue. He worked without fatigue, juggling diagnostics while querying her on pheromone-calibrated alerts, adapting mid-flow, Hayrin endurance frayed after marathons, this human layered tasks as if breathing. Varric's broadcast droned from a side hollow. Human touch corrupts our sanctity, but the feeds now split, some lauding the disarm, whispers of unseen vigilance. Saria's claw tapped the armrest. Trust was a blade's edge, yet Jonah's competence carved necessity from doubt. Monitor through the cycle, she ordered. Report anomalies directly. He met her eyes, humble deference in his posture. No boast. As you command. As he departed for the perimeters, screens flickering under his adjustments, Saria permitted a private thrum of reassessment. The treaty demanded equality. This human unwittingly forged it through deed. Varric's next strike loomed, but the palace hardened, thanks to off-world hands. The real work indeed pressed on. Explosions ripped through the grand atrium, crystalline chandeliers shattering in cascades of lethal shards as the border delegation's envoy shrieked, his iridescent carapace cracking under a hurled plasma grenade. Queen Saria surged to her feet on the dais, her primary mandible snapping shut with imperial command. Guards, secure the exits. Evacuate the visitors now. Chaos erupted among the Hayrin honor guard, their rigid formations fracturing as acrid smoke billowed from breached bulkheads. The delegation, Cathari border lords, key to the fragile Outer Rim Treaty, clustered in panic, their translator drones wailing interference. Saria's vizier, Varek, bellowed orders from the council alcove, his voice a guttural rasp. Seal the chamber. No one leaves until we purge the intruders. But the attackers, shadowy figures in cloaked exosuits, Varric's faction whispers already circulating, had timed their sabotage perfectly, collapsing the primary causeway and trapping the envoys in a kill box of flickering force fields. Saria's crest flared with fury, her mind racing through succession protocols. One dead Cathari, and the treaty crumbled, her throne exposed. Where was the human? Jonah Vance had departed for the perimeters mere cycles ago, his off-world adjustments to the screens still humming faintly. Miles outward, Commander Jonah Vance sprinted along the outer ramparts, his team of mixed Hayran auxiliaries pounding after him. The palace's alert klaxons pierced the night, red strobes painting the human's face in urgent glow. Double time, sabotage in the atrium, main causeways down. He didn't wait for affirmatives, his field instincts kicked in, boots crunching over ferrogrit as he patched his wristcom to the central grid. The Hayren guards, stoic Sergeant Lyra and her squad, exchanged crest flicks of confusion. Humans weren't built for Hayren sprints, their soft frames tired after one rotation. Yet Vance vaulted a service hatch without breaking stride, barking coordinates. Lyra, your squad takes the east fence. Flush any hostiles toward me. I'll rig the sublevel lifts for emergency evac. Move! Lyra's mandibles clicked doubt. Commander, protocol demands perimeter hold. Protocol's a corpse if the delegation dies. Jonah multitasked seamlessly, slapping a jury-rigged bypass onto a flickering panel while scanning schematics on his HUD. Human pattern recognition lit up the palace's labyrinth, a forgotten maintenance conduit snaking under the atrium, pressure sealed but brittle. Aliens drilled formations. He saw improvisations. Trust the play. I've got your backs. He wedged a thermal charge, scavenged from a repair drone, to weaken the conduit's seal just enough, then linked it to the aux power grid. One tap, and it'd vent steam to blind attackers while opening an escape chute straight to the delegation's feet. His team fanned out, Lyra's squad vanishing into vents with disciplined precision, their plasma lances humming. Jonah covered their flank, firing suppressed rounds from his Terran sidearm at probing shadows. 2 hostiles down before they could relay positions. Back in the atrium, Saria shielded a wounded Cathari envoy with her own armored form, her guards forming a desperate cordon as enemy fire chewed the dais. Varric's voice cut through. Majesty, recall the outer patrols. This is internal purge, then a thunderous hiss from below. Steam erupted like a geyser, blinding the saboteurs. The floor plating buckled, revealing Jonah Vance hauling himself up through the gap, drenched but steady, his team emerging behind with secured flanks. Exit route primed, Your Majesty. Delegation to the sublifts, my squad covers. The Cathari envoy scrambled into the chute, Lyra's guards laying suppressive fire with newfound rhythm. Jonah multitasked, directing traffic, patching a shield emitter with spit and circuitry, even tossing a Hayren guard a stim pack mid-stride. Keep pressure on him. Fall back on my mark. His voice cut the din, calm amid the storm, as if herding a routine drill. Saria's primary eyes locked on him, her thrum deepening. The human's tactics, raw, adaptive chaos, had carved salvation from ruin where Hayren doctrine stalled. Lives saved, treaty intact. As the last envoy vanished into the lifts, she rose, mandibles projecting across the comms. All guard ranks, adopt Commander Vance's emergency procedures for the night. Flank rotations, Conduit scouts, improvised vents, execute. Silence fell among her troops, crests rippling in shock. A human's methods, endorsed by the Empress? Varric's rasp exploded over the link. Majesty, this compromises our traditions? Off-world barbarism in our halls? The atrium cleared, but the council chamber convened at once, holographic dais pulsing with hardliner fury. Saria swept in, her robes settling like storm clouds, Jonah at her flank, unbidden but unchallenged. Vadak led the charge, his faction arrayed. The sabotage was regrettable, but your orders invite more. This human leads our guards like chattel. Exile him now, lest the succession laws deem you unfit. Councilors murmured assent, crests low in ritual accusation. Saria's gaze pierced them, unyielding. Jonah stood silent beside her, wiping residue from his gear, eyes scanning the room's subtle tensions. Varric's twitching secondary limbs, the junior counselor's averted gaze. Human emotional read, the hardliners overplayed, scenting blood. She let the chamber stew, then spoke, voice a regal blade. Compromise? We live because of it. The human stabilized what your traditions could not. No crack in her propriety, yet a warmth threaded her tone. Personal, earned. Punitive action withheld. Launch a full investigation, trace the sabotage to its backers. Every comm log, every shadow. Varric recoiled, mandibles agape. Majesty, dismissed. Her crest flared finality. The council dissolved in murmurs, aliens exchanging glances at this shift, the queen valuing unconventional competence over rote honor. Whispers followed Jonah. Impossible endurance, that steam trick no Hyran engineer would risk. Lyra, lingering, offered a rare crest nod. Your play worked, off-worlder? Teach it proper? Jonah grinned faintly. Just kept everyone moving. Team effort. In the antechamber, as aides dispersed, Saria turned to him, her form towering yet companionable. The treaty scribes prepare your ceremonial reward. Medals, honors.
He shook his head, stance easy despite the night's toll.
With respect, Majesty, skip it. I request continued active duty. Beside you, ceremonial gets people killed. Her thrum paused, reassessing. The human saw her peril clear. Varric's next move, the factions circling. Equality demanded partnership, not pageantry. And his deeds proved it essential. Provisional personal protector she authorized. Voice low but iron. Stay close. The palace hardens further tonight. Jonah nodded. No triumph in his eyes, just duty. As they strode toward her private wing, Saria's mind thrummed deeper. Vadak loomed, but this alliance breathed. Off-world hands, forging imperial steel. The real work pressed on, equal now indeed. Saria's private wing doors hissed open, admitting them to the shadowed sanctum where holographic feeds flickered like captive stars. Jonah halted mid-stride, his gaze snapping to the central console where an urgent glyph pulsed red intercepted transmissions from the Vorthak rim. She watched him, antennae twitching at the shift in his posture. No alarm, just that human focus, shoulders squaring as if the weight were merely another pack to shoulder. Commander, she said, voice a silken command laced with the day's fatigue. Your eyes find peril where mine see static. He didn't turn, fingers already dancing across the interface, pulling threads from the encrypted weave. Not static, Majesty. Probes. Vorthak signatures layered under merchant chatter. His brow furrowed, the only tell of exertion as symbols cascaded. Hayrin script, Vorthak ciphers, human standard hashes he'd jury-rigged overnight. Saria leaned closer, her iridescent scales catching the glow, sensing the council chamber's echoes fade behind this raw necessity. By the time her aides arrived, Varric's shadow lingering in the corridor, Jonah had unraveled it. A holographic map bloomed, Vorthak dreadnoughts ghosting succession outposts, timed to op-eds flooding domestic nets. Frame of the human consort, one screamed in blocky script, heir's blood tainted by off-world seed. Saria's mandibles clicked softly, rage coiling beneath propriety. The rival empire probed her line's frailty. No direct heir named, divine right wobbling under treaty scrutiny. International stakes sharpened. Vorthak envoys would feast on this at the morrow's summit. Evidence, she demanded, and Jonah projected it seamless. Decrypted logs linking Vorthak agents to Heron agitators, exploiting the ambiguity of her unclaimed successor. He'd cross-referenced patrol patterns with historical precedents, spotting feints others missed. Human pattern recognition, she noted distantly, turning chaos to clarity without boast. Terran parlor tricks. We've code slicers for this. Results matter, Jonah replied evenly. No edge, just fact. Saria silenced them with a raised claw. Convene the War Council. Private. Now, the chamber sealed around a dozen, her inner guard, tactical savants, Varek's faction glowering from flanks. Saria took the apex dais, Jonah at her side, not sidelined but integrated, his findings pulsing central. Gasps rippled as she gestured him forward. The commander's decryption reveals Vorthak intent. Strike at Succession's heart, paint our pact as dilution. We counter with proof. He briefed without flourish, layering intercepts over fleet dispositions, predicting incursion vectors from merchant logs alone. Hayreen Mind's word, Antonet quivering at his multitasking weave of linguistics, engineering overlays, even psychological profiles of Vorthak admirals pulled from open archives. They expect rote defense, Jonah said. We adapt. Reroute your shadow wings here, feint with drones. Humans call it asymmetric play. Unconventional, but it holds. Advisor Lyra's eyes widened, her crest flaring violet surprise. Such connections. Across domains.
Our savants silo this. Varek leaned in. Skeptical frills tight.
Luck, not lore. But Saria saw the shift. Jonah's standing rose, not by her decree alone, but deed. She nodded integration. His vectors shape our thrust. Objections? None voiced. The council dispersed with orders humming. Her decision a quiet elevation, alliance breathing deeper. Dawn clawed through the spires when High Senna struck. The ancient priestess robes swirling like storm clouds stormed the antechamber unannounced, flanked by petition-bearers clutching purity scrolls. Saria met her alone first, propriety, a thinning veil over steel. Your graces precede you. Renounce the human, Senna hissed, voice of venom rasp, mandibles flaring wide. Divine imagery fractures. Air legitimacy crumbles under off-world gaze. I summon council vote at zenith. Sever the bond or face doctrinal purge. Her eyes bored imperial, factional claws extending. Vorthak probes loomed larger now, peril politicized. Saria's core thrummed fury, but she held regal poise, antennae steady. The treaty binds us. Vorthak exploits the schism you widen.
Purity first, Senna spat, or the gods unseat you.
By zenith, the grand hall thrummed with 200 counselors, air thick with pheromone barbs, Varek's allies clustering, Lyra's moderates wavering. Senna's motion hung. Renounce Jonah, preserve the divine line. Saria rose, carapace gleaming under vaulted light. I postpone. Crisis demands reassessment. Murmurs crested as she unveiled the draft. Temporary reforms, interspecies liaison offices woven into succession protocols. Hayren oversight with Terran input, framing alliance's strength, not stain. Blasphemy, Senna roared, but votes teetered. Saria's gambit held. Crisis forged. Doctrinal ice cracking under necessity. The advisory committee convened in the scriptorium that eve. 20 skeptics, quills poised over reform scrolls, Varek presiding with smug frills. Jonah stood before them, Saria at his flank, her presence a shield. Field evidence, he began, projecting outpost holos from his prior sweeps. Structural scans revealing Vorthak sabotage points, jury-rigged by human engineering tweaks no Hayrin scanner matched. Preposterous, Varek sneered. Your flesh tools falter in void pressures. Prove it viable for divine offices. Instead, he multitasked live, recalibrating a demo strut under simulated assault, enduring the strain, hours of iteration compressed to minutes, sweat beading his brow where Hayrin aids flagged. Adapted from Terran field kits, your alloys hold rigid. We layer resilience. Combined, it seals breaches Vorthak exploits. Pattern recognition shown. Linking seismic data to comm spikes, foreseeing attacks others roadmapped. Lyra leaned forward, crest blooming as your awe. He juggles fluxes we sequence. And persists. Without cycle rest? Whispers spread. Even Varek's frills twitched uncertainty. A hardline elder lunged verbal. Terran contaminant. He taints the air's shadow. Saria's voice cut like crystal. Attack the man, you assail the crown. His evidence stands unrefuted. Her claw rested near Jonah's arm, a flicker of personal guard, propriety fraying to partnership. The committee yielded, scrolls inked with concessions. As they withdrew, Saria caught Jonah's eye. No triumph, just that steady nod. Duty shared. Vorthak plots coiled tighter. Council vote deferred, but venomous. Yet here, in the scriptorium's hush, reform took root. Off-world hands, imperial will, equal, essential. Foreign agents slithered closer that night, per Jonah's decrypted whispers. A Vorthak shuttle breaching neutral lanes bound for Senna's cloister. Sarya's reformed offices activated first test. Joint watch. Human ingenuity meshing Harin vigilance. The intercept loomed, alliance at its crux. Plasma fire scorched the night sky over the frontier outpost. Raider skiffs slicing through Harin patrols like venom through veins. Jonah Vance crouched behind a jagged crystal barricade, his human issue visor feeding him thermal blooms from 3, no 4, Worthik-backed corvettes dumping troops into the dust-choked valley. Harin sentries chittered in panic, their iridescent carapaces flashing distress signals as they formed rigid phalanxes, energy lances humming to life.
"Flank them, not charge," Jonah barked into the comm, his voice steady amid the thunder.
Beside him, Captain Lyra, a wiry Harin veteran with mandibles clicking in frustration, hesitated. Her squad, 20 elites trained for parade ground precision, eyed him sidelong, their compound eyes reflecting the chaos. "Human tactics defy doctrine," Lyra retorted, her translator buzzing with imperial formality. "We hold the line."
Empress's decree. Jonah didn't argue doctrine. He acted.
Grabbing a fallen lance, he jury-rigged its power cell to his pulse rifle, boosting output for a makeshift EMP burst. Watch. He lobbed it into the Raider advance, the device blooming in a silent wave that fried skiff shields and staggered the boarding parties. Harin warriors blinked in unison, their chittering silenced. "Follow my lead. Hit the flanks, faint center." Jonah surged forward, boots pounding regolith, rifle barking precise bursts. Lyra's squad, after a heartbeat's pause, mirrored him, splitting into fire teams, weaving through boulders in a guerrilla swirl aliens rarely dared. Human endurance kicked in unbidden. Jonah ignored the burn in his lungs, multitasking scans, shots, and shouts. Pattern recognition lit his mind. Raiders probed weak points, testing for the rumored treaty fracture. By dawn, the valley smoked with wrecked corvettes. Jonah's mixed force had turned probe into rout, human improvisation meshing Harin discipline into something lethal. Lyra approached, mandibles parting in rare approval. Unorthodoxy saved us. Losses, minimal. Vorthak fled. Jonah wiped sweat, humble grin cracking his fatigue. Team effort. Your lances held the core. Inside, he marveled at their precision, carrion strength in unity, human creativity in chaos. Mutual. Earned. Word reached Senna's cloister by relay drone, Sarya standing rigid in the command sanctum as hollows flickered with victory feeds. Her advisors bowed low, but her crest frills quivered. Raiders confirmed Vorthak hands, the intercepted shuttle's manifest sealing it. Foreign meddling, probing her resolve post-treaty. Commander Vance proposes counterstrike, her intelligence officer intoned. Guerrilla weave. Mixed contingents. Sarya's gaze sharpened on the human's after-action schematic. Fluid, adaptive lines defying Harin grid formations. Jonah's report was terse, practical. No boasts, just results. She felt propriety strain. A queen's decorum cracking under necessity. Partnership demanded risk. Approve. Dispatch reinforcements under his interim lead. Her voice rang formal, steel-edged. Transmit my writ. He leads as deputy commander, frontier contingent. Gasps rippled. Her chamberlain, Varric's ally, stiffened. Majesty? A human informal authority? Tradition bends to survival, Sarya cut in, frills flaring. The treaty binds us. Prove its worth now. She watched the hollow as Jonah's force mobilized, human tactics drawing Harin respect in real-time feeds. Her own strengths, political weave, unyielding command, complemented his field acumen. Equality forged in fire, the counterstrike launched at dusk, Jonah at point in a commandeered Harin drop sled, Lyra coordinating from his flank. Raider camps dotted the Badlands, supply nodes ripe for severing. We hit dispersed, regroup on kills, Jonah directed, sketching routes on a shared TACpad. Harin officers adapted swiftly, their road maneuvers infused with his novel angles. Ambushes from vapor vents, decoys baiting heavy guns. Endurance told as hours stretched, Jonah pushed without falter, juggling drone overwatch, squad chatter, and terrain hacks. A Harin gunner faltered, crest dimming. Jonah clapped his shoulder, pack instinct bridging chitin and skin. Breathe steady. You've got this. The gunner rallied, fire precise. By midday, incursions blunted. 3 camps razed, Raider momentum shattered, but triumph soured as Royal Aid Terran's sled took a parting plasma volley, crashing amid boulders. Jonah veered without thought, sled skidding into the wreck. Psychological resilience held optimism amid smoke. Terran slumped, carapace cracked, leaking vital ichor. Jonah multitasked, staunching wounds with field sealant, signaling evac, shielding from sniper fire. Hang on, help's inbound. Lyra's voice crackled, Deputy Commander, withdraw. Mission priority. Not without him. Jonah hefted Terran, human strength hauling alien bulk, dodging bursts till pickup arrived. Terran's eyes flickered gratitude, mandibles whispering, human, endures beyond measure. Back at Outpost Medbay, Jonah debriefed, humble as ever. Raiders pulled back, window closed. Lyra nodded, researching human physiology on her pad. Endurance myths confirmed.
You're kind.
Persist where we flag. Respect. Sarya's decree arrived mid-cycle, returned to court. Protected guest status. Heroics noted. Jonah boarded shuttle, frontier dust fading, alliance tightening. In the capital spire, conservative nobles erupted. Varric, sleek and silver-crested, rallied them in shadowed alcoves. A human deputy. Treasonous dilution. The Empress cedes command to off-world flesh. Lord Crest thrummed agreement. Frills aglow. Succession laws demand purity. Mobilize council petition. Remove her before treaty poisons the throne. Varric's eyes gleamed. Shuttle manifest fueling whispers. Vorthak gold for stability. Plot coalesced, subtle as venom. Saria faced the High Council in the vaulted throne hall, crystal facets amplifying her presence. Nobles arrayed in tiers, Varric's faction prominent. Murmurs like hive drone. The frontier bleeds Vorthak treachery, she declared. Holos replaying Jonah's strikes. Guerrilla brilliance having losses. Commander? No. Deputy Vance blunted it with mixed strategy. Promotion formalizes necessity. Varric rose, voice oiled. Majesty, Hayran command for Hayran blood. This, ape appoints fractures tradition. Coup of custom. Gasps. Sarya's frills locked, propriety cracking to iron. Denounce if you will, but yield no authority. Partnership secured victory. Raiders repelled, aid rescued. Humanity proves equal, not servant. She gestured feeds. Jonah's rescue, Terran stabilized. Hayran troops saluting human lead. Council wavered. Lyra's testimony beamed in. Human tactics saved my wing. Their resilience. Extraordinary. Nobles shifted, amazement creeping past bias. Varric seethed, but vote held. Strategy affirmed. Privately, Saraya summoned Jonah's shuttle feed. He entered the guest wing unassuming, nodding to guards. Their eyes met via holo, Ur's regal probing. His steady, unaware of galactic awe. Deputy, she transmitted, voice warming fractionally. Your window endures. Court awaits proof. Jonah saluted. Humble. At your service, Empress. Together, blowback brewed, Varric's plots thickening, but frontier victory elevated him, her defense a gauntlet thrown. Alliance essential, equal, unyielding. Varric's voice boomed through the palace comms, a venomous cascade overriding every channel. By ancient right and council mandate, Empress Sarya is deposed. The treaty with Terran barbarians is void. Interdiction laws reclaim our sovereignty. Sarya surged from her throne in the grand atrium, her iridescent scales flaring crimson with fury. Alarms wailed as blast doors slammed shut, sealing loyalists from the outer halls. Hollow screens flickered to life, revealing foreign blockade ships. Cathari raiders, no doubt Varric's covert allies. The Empire teetered. Her empire. Jonah, she barked, her voice a whip crack amid the chaos. He was already at her side, the human's broad frame unyielding, eyes scanning tactical overlays with that unnatural calm. No tremor in his stance, no widened pupils betraying fear. Nearly focus, as if blockades and betrayals were mere engineering puzzles. Palace grids compromised, he said. Fingers flying across a jury-rigged console, splicing human code into Hayran firewalls. Varric's holding the eastern wing with 200 guards. Loyalists are pinned in the barracks, 50 effectives. Blockades jamming outbound signals, but I've got a narrow-band hack through the service ducts. She gripped the arm of her throne, mandibles clicking in restrained rage. How had he anticipated this? The human had spent nights poring over succession scrolls, not as a bodyguard, but as a tactician weaving Terran logistics into Imperial doctrine. Coordinate them.
I need the council chamber secured. He nodded once, splitting his attention, one hand directing drone swarms via neural link, the other patching through to scattered loyalist captains.
Barracks team, flank via sublevels. Avoid the choke points. Captain Lyra, reroute power to shield the atrium. Empress, politically, invoke the crisis edict. Denounce the interdiction as treasonous collusion. Bind the treaty to your bloodline, publicly. Force their hand. His words layered strategy atop strategy, military precision laced with courtly nuance. She hadn't voiced. Multitasking, the Hayran called it in whispers. An alien gift. juggling blades and words without falter. Saria felt the crack in her formality. This off-worlder saw her throne's fractures clearer than her own viziers. She activated the emergency broadcast, her image beaming to every citizen feed despite the interference.
Subjects of the Hayran Empire. Varric perverts sacred law, allying with foreign interdiction to shatter our pacts.
I denounce these blockades as the cowardice of pretenders. By emergency succession reform, Article 17, I bind the Terran Alliance to the Crown Eternal. Jonah Vance stands as its living oath. Council chambers erupted in holographic outrage, elders' crests flaring. Blasphemy! No off-worlder taints the line. Elder Thorm snarled, but Varric's proxy cut in, smug. Saria's gaze locked on Jonah. He was everywhere, directing a loyalist squad through breached vents, endurance unbroken after 30 hours without rest, advising her on reform phrasing that neutralized Thorn's faction, even improvising a counter-jam from salvaged blockade debris, his pattern recognition linking Cathari freaks to Hayran shields. Hayran warriors flagged after marathons like this, yet he pressed on, sweat beading his skin but voice steady. You're...
Impossible, she murmured, the word slipping past propriety. A ghost of a smile.
Just trained for it, Your Majesty. Now, counterstrike? Loyalists breached the eastern wing under Jonah's relays, Hayran precision needing his adaptive feints. Saria rose, donning her command harness. Together. They plunged into the fray, her guard forming a phalanx around them. Jonah moved like liquid resolve, barking orders in flawless Hayran laced with Terran slang, that baffled then bonded the troops. Flank left, use the steam vents for cover. Lyra, suppress with ion bursts, all vector drones. A Cathari boarding pod cratered the corridor ahead, disgorging raiders. Saraya's blade sang, felling two in a blur of imperial fury. Jonah didn't charge, he multitasked, shielding her flank, hacking the pod's nav to ram Varric's reserves, and spotting a pattern in the blockade's patrol loops. Empress, signal the fleet. Hit the gap at Vector 7. Terran pattern, they'll fold. Captain Lyra fighting beside him, crested in awe, her scales shimmering violet.
How do you see it? Our Sims missed that vector.
Practice, he grunted, enduring a glancing plasma singe without breaking stride. No complaint, no pause. Humans endured, she recalled from briefings, their flesh forged in relentless cycles. They reclaimed the precincts in tandem. Saria's political broadcasts rallying outer garrisons, Jonah's innovations turning static defenses dynamic. Varric's lines crumbled, his guards surrendered en masse as joint orders boomed, her imperial decree his tactical precision. In the heart of the breached council chamber, Varric dealt, crests limp, blockade feeds showing Cathari retreat. The treaty, it weakens us. Saria towered over him, Jonah at her shoulder. It strengthens us. As Guardian Consul, he proves it. The chamber fell silent. She invoked the rewritten ritual, ancient words twisting under crisis authority. By crown and crisis, I declare Commander Jonah Vance my consort, Guardian Consul of the Empire. His oath binds to mine, equal in council, shield unbreakable. Elders recoiled. Then, slowly, Thorn inclined his crest. The reform holds under edict. We ratify. Holoscreens blazed the new charter. Succession protocols reformed. Terran Alliance enshrined. Jonah elevated to inner council. Whispers rippled. Amazement at the human who had orchestrated defense while scripting law. His resilience turning tide where Hayran might have fractured.
Saria turned to him as the chamber cleared, formality cracking fully now.
Their hands met, scale and skin, alien and human, in a grip forged of crisis. You saw the paths I could not. Not servant, partner.
His eyes met hers, humble fire within.
Empires need more than one mind. She was born to rule, and learned that true power is finding an equal.